Hello everyone and welcome to another very interesting video on the 3H life skills. As you're aware, we talk about life skills involving the head, hand and heart as part of our series. Today we're going to talk on something very interesting, absolutely applicable to every single individual, which is the unfailing recipe for a happy life. By way of an introduction, I am Vinod Karthik. I had the opportunity to do my MBA from the Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning and did my BTech from the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, IIT Madras. I'll be talking to you about my experiences in practicing what is known as sealing on desires. And in my quest for happiness, I have found that this has been my most valuable tool. I'm hoping that as you begin to practice it, you too realize its value. So in this video, well, you're going to learn the greatest gift that one can give one's own child. And let's see what that is. So I just spoke about something which was sealing on desires. Some of you might have heard this term. For some of you, this might be new. And for many of us, who've been part of a culture involving, say, management, we're always told, aim high, dream big, fulfill your potential. And here is this person coming and telling us to have sealing on desires. Now, how does sealing on desires and aiming high go hand in hand? Aren't they contradictory? In fact, they actually do go hand in hand, and give me a few minutes to let me explain to you why dreaming big and aiming high and fulfilling one's potential actually necessitates sealing on desires. Let's start off with an example from science. I've been a student of both science and management, so I'm going to use a few instances from both those subjects. So let's assume that you have two containers which are shown at the bottom, right? Treat them as, say, buckets. The right bucket has a narrower base while the left one has a broader base. Now you have a tank which is filled with a certain amount of water and you want to fill it into these buckets. Let's assume that you have a small size tank from which you're going to release water into these buckets. The objective of the exercise is that you should be able to get water to the maximum height, and you could choose either bucket on the left or the bucket on the right for this purpose. Which bucket would you choose? If your objective was to get water to the maximum height, would you choose the left bucket or the right bucket? Of course, you're right. You would choose the bucket on the right because the narrower the base, the higher the water would go quickly. So which means if you have a limited amount of water in the tank, just to be sure that you have a greater height, you would choose the bucket with the narrower base. Now let's increase this complexity a little more. What would you do if you had a flexible bucket? Wow, you're right again. It's so straightforward, isn't it? You would try and compress its base to as narrow as possible so that you would actually be able to reach, with the same volume of water, you would be able to reach as high as possible. So the narrower the base, the higher you would reach. Fantastic. Now that we've got this understanding from science, let's move on to an understanding of a theory which has been very prevalent in management. And this is known as the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This has been the fundamental basis to understand how human beings function, right? What is the motivation of human beings? And Maslow proposed that all individuals have 5 or 6 different kinds of needs. At the lowest level, we have what's known as the physiological needs, which includes air, water, food, shelter, clothing, reproduction. Just above that are our safety needs, which means, having social security, having some kind of employment, having basic health, and ensuring that our property is safe too. Above safety needs are the needs belonging to the category of belongingness, where all of us wish to experience love and affection. We wish to have good relationships with our friends and relatives. Above this come the esteem needs, where all of us like to be recognized for doing good work, where we'd love to be, famous, where all of us like to be respected. Above the esteem needs are the category of needs known as self actualization, which is indeed the desire to fulfill one's potential and do everything to the best that one can absolutely be. Maslow also proposed something known as transcendency, which is not often talked about, but the ability to be able to, serve others, be altruistic, and actually expand beyond one's own needs often leads to even higher satisfaction, is what Maslow had talked of. Now, how do these two so called different theories from two completely different branches of academics, one from science and the other from management, how do these two tie up together? Let's quickly take a look. So, we just said that if you have a tank of limited water and you want to fill a bucket, well, you would choose the bucket which has the narrower base only because you want to reach the larger height. Now, Maslow, in his theory of management, had proposed that those people who are able to get the maximum number of needs fulfilled here would most likely be the happiest, which means if you could reach levels of esteem needs being fulfilled, self actualization needs being fulfilled, and self transcendence actually being achieved, then the chance of being happy would be the highest. Going back to the experiment in science, how would you really grow high on this pyramid with the same amount of resources that one has? Your resources could be in terms of time, energy, and money. But all of us understand that we have a limited amount of time, limited energy, and finite money. Keeping that in mind, what would be the way that we could actually reach the level of transcendence? Well, once again, you're right. It seems so straightforward, isn't it? Applying the principle of physics. You would say, well, this is a bucket. Let me make the base as narrow as possible so that I can reach as high as possible. That is absolutely fantastic. Your desires in different forms, right? So one person might actually say that they have a desire to have a huge home, a big car, and so on. And a lot of their resources of time, energy, money might all be filled only in fulfilling the basic physiological and safety needs. In contrast, there might be another person who'd say, well, I can probably live with a smaller house, a smaller car. I'd like to have more time with my family too. Would love to get recognized, of course. I want to fulfill my potential and certainly be able to help others. I know that I only have the same amount of time, energy, and money, irrespective of which path I choose. But it just seems so much more fulfilling if I could keep my desires at the bottom of the pyramid as low as possible, because that gives me a chance to be able to actualize myself and also be able to help others and thereby transcend just my own needs. Well, that indeed is the simplest formula for happiness, isn't it? So we just learned a great concept right now. We said the narrower your needs at the bottom, the higher you reach. And you can think of the flexibility of the bucket as being your attitude. Would you like to have an attitude which says, I need a bigger home, I need the best possible job, I need tremendous costly clothing, all of which would probably keep us only to the level of the bottom two needs being fulfilled? Or would you say, well, I will apply the attitude of ceiling on desires and say, I can live with a smaller home, with probably simpler clothing. I would like to have some time with my family, would certainly like to be recognized and have a certain amount of respect and be able to fulfill my potential as a fantastic human being. Well, the flexibility of bucket, the attitude makes all the difference. So I did not just want to share with you, two theories which I had come up with. This is something that I've tried personally to apply in my own life, and this is the way I was able to apply it, right? So broadly, there are three steps. The first step is to say that we all have goals at different levels. So physiological needs, of course, need to be fulfilled, but one also needs to take care of ensuring that we don't miss out on the actualization goals or the self transcendence goals. And each of these have different resources. The concept of the flexible bucket, right, where you talk of limited resources and how do you prioritize goals. The third one, how do we aim high and keep the base of this flexible bucket of desires as narrow as possible? So I'm just going to broadly share with you each of these steps as I've tried to apply it and learn from it. The first one, we spoke of having goals at each level because different levels imply different resources. Well, if you want a big car, you certainly need a lot of money. If you want time with your family, you need to understand that the way to satisfying family life involves a lot of time with them too. If you're interested in helping others where you want to physically involve, well, time and energy are absolutely essential. Money might probably enable you to delegate that seva to others, but if you want to be involved in doing service activities, you will certainly need to be having the time and energy to do that. That is step one. Step two, we spoke of resource allocation, where we try and integrate the concept of limited resources and how we manage resource crunches. So, at different stages of our life, we typically have a different amount of resources. In youth, we don't have as much money. In middle age, we don't seem to have enough time. And in old age, we don't seem to have enough energy. So, to try and buy a big car in youth would probably be foolhardiness. As a middle-aged person, if you want quality family time, you would need to make time, and the way to do that would be a willingness to compromise on the money that one could earn. To plan that you would put all service activities at the end of your life might again be a foolhardy thought because you may not have the energy, though you might have time with you. Now, this led me to an interesting understanding of what I truly wanted to prioritize and do. This is how I prioritized and found some success, I would say, with trying to plan my life. The first was I wanted to devote the best part of my life and energy for seva. I wanted to also have time with my family. And so I came to the conclusion that the way to do it would be if I could live with 60 to 75% of my market earning potential, then I would be able to get some more time to spend with family. It would also give me time and energy to be part of seva activities rather than procrastinate and put it into the future. Well, I think that with the blessings of what my family taught me and what my master Sri Satya Sai Baba taught me, I've been able to try and aim high and keep the base of the bucket of desires as narrow. Friends, I would certainly like to leave you with this thought that the attitude of sealing on desires is what has helped me the most. I believe it's been the best thing that my parents trained me with, and I think it could certainly be the greatest investment for your own child's happy future. Hope you found this video interesting. If there is anything that you'd like to share, please feel free to add it to the comment section. And importantly, do share it with others who you feel might benefit by watching this video. This and lots more videos coming your way from 3H Catalyst and Sai Krishna Charitable Trust. Look forward to seeing you soon.